My name is Elise Blas. I'm the Instructional Design Librarian at Washburn University Mabee Library. I teach a lot. This semester I'm teaching 4 classes, 3 101 sections. 2 of those are team taught. The online version I am solo teaching, and I'm also teaching a 1 credit hour class online solo as well. It's a combination of teaching, checking on students, and other projects. So no matter what the day is, I am either teaching in person or I'm checking in on my online students or grading any of those. I'll spend some time at the desk upstairs checking with students, doing some reference desk shifts. Lots of emailing with students and calling students to make sure they're on the right track, that they know I'm still thinking about them, trying to keep them on the right path to, for instance, yesterday I was calling students to make sure they're enrolling. Today I'll be checking the students, where's your final project? E-learning resources are online learning objects, so they're tutorials. They may be a slideshow or a picture with arrows pointing, here is the thing you need to click right here, this is the spot you need to pay attention to. Or they can be more involved storyline tutorials where click here, watch me go through this. Or they could be a simple screenshot. I've done screenshots or even 15-second videos showing students this is where you click here and then you see this and then there you go, there's your grade. I first started making tutorials with Adobe Captivate. Before that I was familiar with Photoshop, Illustrator, Quark, and InDesign from my previous jobs doing photography and graphic design. So I brought those into Captivate so I had an idea of what I was doing. Captivate still took a very long time to learn because it was so new. Once I came to Washburn and we had Articulate Storyline, I switched to Storyline and it was a lot easier because it's built very similar to Captivate and PowerPoint, so between those two I could figure it out fairly quickly. So I used Storyline pretty exclusively. I used Articulate Presenter for a while until that got phased out in favor of Storyline. I've also used screen capture called Jing. It's just a quick, this is where I do my 15-second videos and I can make sound or I don't have to make sound, but that's usually if you want to find, when I want students to find their feedback, I do a quick video of, okay, you click here and then there's the video, and I warn them, these are silent, nothing's wrong with your speakers, but it's 5 to 10 seconds, so I don't want to put a whole lot of energy into those. I'm teaching 2 classes right now online, the 101 experience. That is as close to the on-campus version as possible. So they are still learning where to contact people. Instead of having guest speakers into the class, I've pre-recorded the guest speakers. The students have a weekly check-in quiz where they have to tell me, where do I find information about this? Who's their advisor? How do they contact their advisor? What's the number for the business office? Things like that they would still learn if they came to campus. There's just no tours around campus. So they still learn information literacy, study skills, financial literacy. This week is about wellness and making good decisions. Last week was career services. So they're doing essentially the same thing, except not going around and seeing all these buildings on camp. The library research strategies class that I teach, the 1 credit hour class, is more in depth about what is a keyword, how do you locate a keyword, how to use these keywords in the databases. Find a book, annotate the book. Find an article, annotate the article. And that one is scaffolded purposely so they're working on their final project by week 4. They don't realize that they're doing this sometimes, but the entire class is built so the book annotation can be used for their final project. Their journal article annotation can be used for their final project. Their midterm is based on their final project. So everything that we do is built so the final project is not such a big deal. It's a 1 credit hour class. It's not supposed to take up their entire day. Find the information that students need whether or not I know what it is or where to find it. Sometimes I know the information off the top of my head, and that's great. Sometimes I've got to do a little bit more digging because the student doesn't know exactly what they're looking for, so I have to do that reference interview with them and get to know why they're interested in this, what is their take on it, what is their personal interest, so I can figure out the right angle. And half of that is finding out the right keywords as well. So I will write down everything, almost everything they say, things that pop into my mind, and we go over it together. So at some point, I want these students to not need me. My goal is when they come in as freshmen, they need help, and I will help them and help them and help them. By the time they're juniors and seniors, I want them to ask me more of, this is the right way, right? I'm on the right track. And just clarify they're doing it right rather than have me hold their hands. And when they are progressing in their studies, they just double check with me. Or if they're really struggling, they have such a specific topic, then they still need some help. And that's great. They recognize this is hard and they can't do it by themselves. I make them do it themselves. As funny as that sounds. Like I was saying in the previous one, I will hold their hands at first. There's some students in my one-on-one class that I check in a lot, and there are some that I will continue to check in. I see them on campus and I say, hey, how you doing? I did that with a student who walked in earlier before he came in. Chatted a little bit with him as he walked in. He knows that I know him. He knows that I'm going to keep checking on him. But I want him to not need me. I just want him to say, hey, there's a friendly face. I used to know her. But I want to show students the process to teach themselves. So eventually they know the steps and they don't need me. So when they come by, it's look what I did, or come see my Apparon project. More than senior year, I still don't know what I'm doing. If they do that, we have both failed. Oh, I have a ridiculous collection of degrees. I have a bachelor's in philosophy and religious studies, which actually comes in useful because as a librarian, I am the philosophy and religion department liaison. So I know a little bit about what they're talking about. I haven't studied it too much after graduation because soon after my undergrad, I went to library school. And I took a year between those two. And then I took a year off after library school. And then I got an instructional design and technology degree, which is a fancy way of saying I teach. So I've got all of that knowledge behind me. My work history is less varied. I worked at Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas as the reference and instructional librarian for 3 years, and I did all kinds of stuff there. I'm not really exaggerating when I tell people I did everything except the budget and deal directly with the databases. I did reference, I did instruction, I was embedded in courses, I picked out the books, I helped process the books, I covered interlibrary loan when my colleague was gone, I took over archives because it needed to be done. I led projects on campus, I did programming, I did the displays, you name it, I did it except budgeting, and that's good because I can't. And dealing directly with the databases. Instruction was in person, one-shots with certain professors. I got embedded into the junior and senior history classes. They did like a semester long. This is the junior research methods class and the senior research methods class. And I worked with the online portion of the school as a guest speaker for the beginning course. It was a lot like Woo 101 for their online students, but it was it was very quick because it was only 6 weeks long. So every week 4, I would talk to these students for an hour or so, like this is how we use the library. This is crash course, here's the databases, here's a quick search. By the way, I'm making it look easy because this is my job. Here's my contact information because it's gonna get hard. I think it's more important now than ever to know that technology. When I started, I knew Captivate and I knew some Photoshop and a couple of the other programs that I mentioned, but I don't know how to code, and that's kind of a problem. I can do graphic design, but I can't fix anything in the online courses. So knowing what's out there. If I were to ever want to be a director for a small college, and I love working at small colleges, this is about as big as a school as I'd want to work at because I get to know the students and I see them, like I recognize this person, I've talked to this person before. I would have to be able to code. I mean, I don't know how, which is fine, because I don't need it for this job. We've got Jennifer. She knows how to code. Farhan knows how to code. So just knowing how to do a lot more on the computer, being able to design things and post things and redesign the website. It's a lot of stuff to know that it's not really taught in library school.